Michael Moore is here. He is a journalist and documentary filmmaker who takes an unconventional look at America. Roger and Me, his 1989 landmark film about the downsizing effects by General Motors, is the highest-grossing documentary of all time. In his latest film, Bowling for Columbine, he examines guns and violence in American society. Here is the trailer for the film.
He's Michael Moore, America's favorite whistleblower. The man in everyone's face. The guy asking the question, are we a nation of gun nuts or just plain nuts?
My name was second highest on the bomb threat list, which kind of made me mad.
Why? Because you didn't make it the number one?
It would have been kind of like an ego thing there, you know, knowing that I was number one at something.
I loves my gun,
I'm here to open up an account.
Okay, what type of
I
gun?
want the account where I can get the free gun.
You do a CD and we'll hand you a gun.
Well, here's my first question. Do you think it's a little dangerous handing out guns in a bank?
Now he's taking aim at America's most controversial subject.
Why do you think we have so many gun murders in America?
Because everybody's first reaction is pull the gun out.
The town of Virgin, Utah has passed a law requiring all residents to own guns.
This is a great place to raise your children.
There has been a terrible shooting.
After Columbine, no one could figure out why the boy had resorted to violence.
Why would kids do this?
You don't think kids say Dad goes off to the factory every day. He built missiles. What's the difference between that and the mass destruction at Columbine High School?
I guess I don't see that connection.
United Artists presents the sensation of the 2002 Cannes Film Festival and the only film to win a unanimous jury prize.
And then Moses himself showed up.
From my cold, dead hands.
10 days after the Columbine killing, Charlton Heston came to Denver and held a large pro-gun rally.
How could the NRA come here? To me, it's like they're rubbing their nose in it.
Mr. Heston, I'm a member of the NRA. I was wondering if maybe I could talk to you about the whole gun issue.
Critics are calling it scathing, incendiary, hilarious, and provocative.
Our children had turned into little monsters. But who was to blame?
What were the suspects doing the morning of attack? I'd heard that they were bowling.
Bowling for Columbine.
Why wasn't anyone blaming bowling for warping their minds?
A movie that will have you up in arms.
Thank you for not shooting me.
I am pleased to welcome Michael Moore back to this table. Welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about the film Bowling for Columbine, but first I want to give you a chance. I just talked to George Will. You may have heard some of that conversation.
Yes, I did.
I imagine you have some differances. Where do we start?
A few.
Okay, tell me where you come down on this. I mean, now George makes sense in some cases.
Well, no, I don't think he made any sense.
There's no threat. I'm going to say there's no threat from Saddam.
Here's the thing. In every great lie, and I believe there is the big lie being perpetrated on the American public by the Bush administration with this weapons of mass destruction, et cetera, et cetera. But the best lies, the ones that work, have a strong kernel of truth to them. The big kernel of truth to this lie is that Saddam Hussein is a really bad guy. This is not a good guy, all right?
And corollary, he has and wants weapons of mass destruction.
As do a lot of bad guys in this world.
Okay, but the point is he has it.
Yes.
And wants it.
I'm much more concerned that Pakistan has the bomb and India has the bomb, and they seem hell-bent on wanting to go after each other. To me, that's a much more threatening situation in terms of a potential nuclear war than whatever Saddam is up to now. And I cannot forget my history here. The history of this is that we supplied him with these weapons. We gave him $4 billion in aid during the 80s. We allowed biochemical companies in the United States to supply him with the ingredients for these biological weapons in the 1980s. This is all in a 1994 Senate report that laid the whole sad story out. He gasses the Kurds in 1984. What do we do a year later, November of 85? We restore full diplomatic relations with Saddam Hussein in Iraq. And that is the issue that I would like to address. I don't believe Bush has shown us the credible evidence the way Kennedy did 40 years ago this week. You know, those pictures that he had the other night, last night on the, you know, that is not the same as Kennedy saying, here's the missile, and there it is. Yeah. Here's the missile silo, there it is. You know, I just, you know, look, you and I, we live in New York City. I think if you talk to most New Yorkers, I mean, there's a sense that the other shoe hasn't dropped yet. You know, we're all in this kind of tension we've been in for the last year. What's the next thing that's going to happen to us? And what's being done about that? Do you, Charlie Rose, feel any safer a year later than you did, after 9/11 last year?
I do, actually.
You do? In this city?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
No, I may be the first one you've ever met.
Yeah, well, I want what you have then, because I personally don't feel that way.
Do I believe that it's possible that we could have another serious attack against New York City, this place that I live and love and most of my friends live? Yes. Do I think it's possible? Do I think we're safer than we were a year ago? I do. I think we're safer because they've uncovered lots of plots. They know a whole lot about them, and a number of them are on the run. So I think we are in a better place than we were. We're not in a safe place. We're not in a totally secure place, but we're in a better place.
Yeah, but better isn't good enough for me.
Me either. I mean, but I don't think there's ever a perfect. I don't think that we can totally.
But why aren't our energies going down that road?
Well, I think
instead of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein is not going to hurt you or I today or tomorrow, sitting here in New York City.
Let's take George Will's hypothesis. How do you know that if in fact, I mean, suppose the Israelis had not done what they did, he was very close to developing a nuclear weapon and might very well have used it in a bloody war against the Iranians. Might have used it if we tried to thwart his march into Kuwait and have occupied Kuwait and said, look, I just want Kuwait, I'm not going to Saudi Arabia, and I've got a bomb, and stop right there. He might have done that. Now, does that argument have any weight with you?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you can prove that somebody is up to doing something like that, that you have every right to act in self-defense to stop him from doing that.
But George Will and others, and I think the President have laid that out as they see it. Now, you may say it hasn't proven it to you, but they have laid it out.
It hasn't proven it to most Americans. It's still today, the poll shows, he only gets 46% of the public backing a unilateral war against Iraq.
It's an
the majority of Americans are not behind this yet.
I don't disagree with you there.
And I don't think, and I hope they won't be.
Yeah, listen to this. This is the lead story in the Washington Post about Bush, and I was caught by this sentence. This is like the fourth paragraph by Karen DeYoung. Bush spoke in a televised speech aides said was scheduled so that he could explain his Iraqi policy directly to the American people. Although it seems likely that the resolution Bush seeks will pass both houses of Congress by the end of the week, polls show that public support is waning. Now, that's what you believe.
That's right. That's
the more we learn about this, the less we support it.
That's right. That's right. Because people trust their own common sense, and nobody feels that their lives are being threatened by this.
For those who oppose the war as you do, how do you define the threat of Saddam Hussein, and what would you believe reasonable to do about the threat?
I don't honestly think it's a threat. I don't think that this guy is a threat to me or to anybody I know. I think this is all a distraction. I think he's no more of a threat now than he was 10 months ago or 20 months ago, and this has all come up now. And I think this is a gut feeling that most people have about this, is that there's an election coming up, and this is I think Bush is really in trouble. I think the people are enraged by what's happened with the economy. Look, in the 20 months he's taken office, the stock market is down 35%, 2 million less jobs. We had a budget surplus of, the whole litany of things. Everyone knows that they're living it, I
don't think the fact that all the dot-com implosion took place and the stock market took place because of the telecom overcapacity is necessarily in any particular administration's fault.
Oh, I agree with that. Oh, absolutely. But Clinton's gone, so we'll leave him alone.
It may be some other greedy people's fault.
Right. But for the average American who was convinced to put their money into the stock market, because they saw the wealthy people they did really great during the 90s. So maybe I should invest my own personal savings into this. How many billions have been lost? Just average Americans who've lost this in the last few years. I'm telling you, people are they're looking for a reason to get their revenge, and I think the revenge will come at the expense of the Republicans on November 5th. I believe very strongly in this. And
I think the Democrats will win control of the House, you believe?
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, have the potential to. I mean, the Democrats are great for blowing it and knowing how to.
Did you read Tom Friedman's column over the weekend?
Yeah, right.
The headline was, "Where are the Democrats?
Where are they? Hello, where did they go? There's 435...
To raise all those issues that he said, and Tom Friedman's agreeing with you in this particular case, that the American public is more concerned about all these other issues. He went out on a book tour promoting his book.
And that's what I did too.
And he says...
47 cities I went to, that's all I heard
they
from
talked
people.
about were these domestic issues.
That's exactly
more,
right.
Not that they didn't mention the war, but there was a much more prevalent interest in what's happening to them in terms of their savings, in terms of their 401ks, in terms of prescription drugs, in terms of their health benefits, in terms of education and violence.
That's right. That's exactly right. And if they're concerned about terrorism, the question is, what happened to the original mission? Where is Osama bin Laden?
That's my question for you. Where do you stand on that mission against terrorism and the effort to get Osama bin Laden?
That's a good mission. To find Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice, if he's the one that committed this act and it appears that he's the one who did it, absolutely. Absolutely. But again, we should have been doing our job. Again, I hate to go back into history a bit, but none of these events operate in a vacuum.
What's been the most radicalizing event or person on your mindset about the way the world works?
About the way the world works?
Yeah, or the way the United States works. I mean, what you've just been described. Or the establishment works. I mean, what has shaped you and your political thought? Certainly Vietnam, certainly civil rights, certainly...
Well, probably most importantly were the parents I was raised by. I was raised in an Irish Catholic home.
In Flint, Michigan.
In Flint, Michigan, by working class parents. And the lessons that they and the good sisters taught me while I was growing up resonate with me to this day, that we will be judged by how we treat the least among us. That a rich man will have a more difficult time getting into heaven than a camel will have getting through the eye of a needle. I mean, these are the lessons that we were taught, and I believe that there was a lot of truth to that. And I remember certain things as a child. I remember Holy Thursday Mass in '68, coming out of Mass. It's April 4th, 1968. And one of the parents had gone to the car to warm it up or whatever and turned the radio on, and a bulletin came on, and he hears the bulletin, and he shouts out to the others of us coming out of Mass, "They've just shot Martin Luther King!" And a cheer goes up amongst many of the people that were coming out of church.
Wow.
And as a 13-year-old, I couldn't understand why anybody would cheer the killing of another person. I mean, I wasn't a political person then or whatever. I wasn't that aware of civil rights or whatever, but I didn't understand. And we're coming out of Mass. Tomorrow's Good Friday. You know what? It was just things like that. I guess they just sort of stuck in my head and through my life. And what my parents always taught me about injustice and doing the right thing and standing up for what you believe in and following your conscience. And so. All of that had great impact on me, and then we lived in a time where 9 boys that went to my high school came back in a coffin with Vietnam. A flag draped over it. And and I think, and because I love this country, and because I want it to be better, and I think it can be better, I've learned that the most patriotic thing to do is to always question what's going on, to never accept or believe what is being said. Yeah. George Seldes, I don't know if you remember him, was a muckraking journalist from the 40s and the 50s, had this great quote. He said that all governments are run by liars and nothing they say should be believed. And that was his ethos of journalism, that they have to prove to you that they're telling the truth.
Yeah. There's another caveat to that, is that we ought to always be skeptical, but not necessarily cynical.
Oh, I agree with that, and I'm not a cynic. Yeah. I'm actually a very optimistic person. I believe that the skepticism, if applied properly, can actually move people and affect change, and things can get better.
All right, let's roll tape here. We'll get back to Charlton Heston in a moment. This is where Michael opened a bank account in a bank.
In Michigan.
In Michigan, so that he can get a free gun, because they got 500 of them in the vault?
In the vault, yes.
All right, here it is.
I'm here to open up an account.
Okay, what type of account would you?
I want the account where I can get the free gun.
You do a CD and we'll hand you a gun. We have a whole brochure here that you can look at. Once we do the background check and everything, it's yours to go.
Okay. All right, well, that's the account I'd like to open.
We have a vault, which at all times we keep at least 500 firearms.
500 of these you have in your vault?
In our vault.
Wow.
We have to do a background check.
At the bank here? Or?
At the bank, which we are a licensed firearm dealer.
Oh, you are? You're a bank and a licensed firearm dealer. What do I put for race? White or Caucasian or?
Caucasian.
Caucasian. Oh, I knew you were going to make me spell the Caucasian. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
I don't think that's the part they're going to be worried about.
Have you ever been adjudicated mentally defective, or have you ever been committed to a mental institution? Oh, I've never been committed to a mental institution. What does that mean? Have I ever been adjudicated mentally defective?
Would be something involved with a crime.
Oh, with a crime. Okay. So if I'm just normally mentally defective,
Yeah,
but not criminal.
Exactly.
There you go, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much. Wow.
I have one personally.
That's a nice section.
It is, and it's
you got one
straight shooter. It's a straight shooter, let me tell you.
Wow. Sweet. Well, here's my first question. Do you think it's a little dangerous handing out guns in a bank?
That should repeat the question. You were saying to him, don't you think it's a little dangerous to have so many guns in a bank?
Right.
And he said,
no.
No. So you're off. You got a gun in a bank.
Right.
Know? And what is this? This is the point to be made here, is that it's so easy.
That's right.
To get a gun.
It's so easy, and we can't see the insanity of this. There were so many things like that we found in the research for the film. I mean, schools that would have auctions to raise money for the schools, or raffle sales, and they'd be raffling off a gun at the school. You know, it's like, doesn't anybody get this? It was just bizarre.
All right, here is Marilyn Manson in a conversation about guns and violence.
He was blamed, right, for Columbine.
Okay, here it is.
Two byproducts of that whole tragedy were violence and entertainment and gun control. And how perfect that was the two things that we were going to talk about with the upcoming election. And also then we forgot about Monica Lewinsky, and we forgot about the president was shooting bombs overseas, yet I'm a bad guy because I sing some rock and roll songs. And who's a bigger influence, the president or Marilyn Manson?
Do you know,
I'd like to think me, but I'm going to go with the president.
Do you know that the day that Columbine happened, the United States dropped more bombs on Kosovo than any other time during that war?
I do know that, and I think that that's really ironic, you know, that nobody said, well, maybe the president had an influence on this violent behavior. No, because that's not the way the media wants to take it and spin and turn it into fear, because then you're watching television, you're watching the news, you're being pumped full of fear. There's floods, there's AIDS, there's murder, cut to commercial. Buy the Acura, buy the Colgate. If you have bad breath, they're not going to talk to you. If you got pimples, the girl's not going to f you. And it's just this, it's a campaign of fear and consumption. And that's what I think that it's all based on, is the whole idea that keep everyone afraid and they'll consume. Mm-hmm. And that's really as simple as it can be boiled down to.
Right. If you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine or the people in that community, what would you say to them if they were here right now?
I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they have to say, and that's what no one did.
What did you discover when you visited Littleton?
Well, you know, it's hard to go there. You feel real bad for the community. It's a tough thing, you know, for them to have to go through. The scariest thing about it is that it is so normal. It is so much like every other suburb. There's nothing wrong or bad about Littleton, you know, or weirdly different that this tragedy would occur there. That's what makes it more scary, that it literally could happen anywhere. These kids were honor students. They were skipping their Eastern philosophy class when they started the shooting. But then I asked one of the parents, I said, who's the biggest employer here in Littleton? What's the #1, you know, private employer? Lockheed Martin, the world's largest weapons maker, is the #1 employer in Littleton. And so I went to see
What does Lockheed Martin make?
Well, they made the MX missile.
Right.
They're very much involved in the new Star Wars program. And so I went there and spoke to the people there, the executives. Do you see any kind of connection here between, you know, the sort of all these forms of violence that exist in our society, including yours? And they said, oh, of course not. You know, we, as Americans, we don't use these missiles or these bombs that we make or these bombers to just, you know, react in anger like these kids did. We don't just go after somebody because we don't like them. Well, of course, that's exactly what we have done. And then I show in the film a whole history from Mossadegh in Iran, who we helped to overthrow, democratically elected president. Right. Then the next year, that's right, Arbenz in Guatemala, democratically elected, we overthrew him. That's right. We helped to assassinate, or I should say we approved the assassination of Diem in South Vietnam. That then opened up and led to that conflict.
Kennedy administration.
Kennedy administration. You go on and on and on this history. Pinochet, Allende, September 11th, 1973, our involvement in that coup, again, a democratically elected president. I mean, this is the rap we have, you know, around the world, and I don't like that. I don't want to be known as somebody who supports that and funds that with my tax dollars.
We also have a very good rap around the world,
absolutely.
too.
People love Americans. No, that's very true.
Really
they do. No, they do. They love us as people.
Well, they love the values that they love a lot of the values that they believe.
And the ideals that we have.
Exactly.
The American dream.
Exactly.
But my point is, in this film and the other things that I've done, is that I don't want that American dream to be just a dream. I want it to be a reality for us and for the people that we share this planet with.
All right. Let me just make one last point because I'm out of time. 2 points I want to make. One, so you go see Charlton Heston.
Yes.
You know, who's by then head of the NRA, right?
Yes.
You go to his house.
Yes.
You have a conversation with him.
Yes.
He ends the interview.
Yes, he walks out on
of
me,
his own
out of his own house.
Now, what is it you said that so infuriated?
Well, he thought I was there to have a gun control debate with him, and basically I was saying to him, you know, I kind of agree with you. Guns don't kill people, people kill people, except I would alter it to guns don't kill people, Americans kill people.
And you're not anti-hunting and all that?
Not anti-hunting.
And the right to defend yourself.
And I just said to him, but why did you go to Columbine? Why did you go to Denver 10 days after that massacre and have that big pro-gun rally? You know, it just rubbing people's nose in it. And then in my hometown of Flint, Michigan, a little 6-year-old boy shot a 6-year-old girl to death in school. And he, a few months later, shows up there to have a big rally and you know, just, here we are, and we don't care, you know? And it's like, why do you do that? I mean, don't you think these people deserve an apology from you? And he says, you want me to apologize to the people of Flint and Columbine? And just gets up and he walks out. And, you know, but it's what he says before that I think is what people are going to find very stunning. Because I asked him why the difference between us and Canada.
And he said?
He says, the problem in America is our mixed ethnicity. And I said, our mixed ethnicity? And then he catches himself and he goes, well, I don't want to go there. We had enough problems with civil rights. And it's a very chilling moment, the way that he interjects race. But it connects to much of the rest of the film in terms of our culture of fear and how race is used in that, and how, you know, Charlie, the central question that I'm asking here is that if we can't, our American ethic, you know, the way that we look at and build our society here, if we won't even guarantee that our children can have a doctor if they get sick, we won't even have universal health care for our kids. If we would do that to our own children, what would we do to the children of Iraq or any place else? This is what I want to change. I want us to be better. I want us to aspire to something a bit better than that. And I think in doing so, we'll create a less violent society here at home. And we will not export this violence anymore around the world. And we will not train and fund nutcases like Saddam or Osama bin Laden, who eventually come back to harm us in very tragic ways.
Bowling for Columbine opens October 11th in New York and LA, and nationally on October 18th and 24th. The 11th, the 18th, and the 25th.
Somewhere there you'll
find a theater. You'll find a theater somewhere there. Michael Moore, who speaks his mind through books and through film about the way he sees the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.